I also want to pick up on the point about the conversation getting mined in a false dichotomy of like gung-ho or sit back. And I think that's definitely true. I keep seeing like this, people want to keep having like the big talk about Ange, like, should we play so attacking? A lot more of the discussion should be in the nuance, such as like the details of how we press, when we press 4-3-1, when we press 4-1-4-1, how active we are in supporting the pressure with our fullbacks. Things like the detail of the isolation of our centre-backs, how well that works with Van de Ven and Romero, and how that doesn't transfer to our second, third, fourth, fifth choice centre-backs. That for me is where I think you can observe where you need sympathy for the coach and observe where you can maybe say, I think this needs changing up, this needs tweaking, rather than just, should little old Spurs ever bother trying to have the ball? Shouldn't they just accept who they are? That kind of conversation is just, it's not a conversation worth having as far as I'm concerned. And so that kind of like, that's kind of where I'm at with Ange, right? It's not, there's no point reacting to a current, admittedly very poor run of results and saying, well, this is unacceptable, therefore you're gone. The question always from day one to day 10,000 is, do we believe this coach is the right man, has the right tools to further our projects, to further our trajectory, to bridge the next gap? And I think that's very hard to answer right now based on the state of the squad. But that's not a, therefore I end the conversation, right? I think it's completely reasonable if people say, based on how poorly we're performing with a few injuries, that shows a lack of adaptability and a lack of problem solving, injury management and things like that are all perfectly reasonable points to hold against Postecoglou and say, therefore I don't think he should be our coach anymore. And I get that. I still think that like we're at a stage where we've made a huge change in play style from the last few coaches. We've brought very young squads. We've still got a lot of work to do on the sort of squads. Our medium-term goal is like returning to regular top four finishes. Do I think Postecoglou can bridge that gap? I do. I'm beginning to have more doubts over his ability to like be the one to like win us titles because of mismanagement in like game to game tweaks in terms of like how we press it. But for the time being, I think that this this gung-ho style of football, it's going to help develop young players. It's going to breed a culture of attacking football. It's going to give us direction. He speaks very well, and all those things are sort of good enough for now for the long-term project that exists beyond Ange, which is sort of the revitalization of our club from the let's try and win now with serial winners era that we just went through. And so that's why I would stick with Ange for the time being. I would invest heavily in January. I would invest in the summer, and I would be reviewing based on season 3. But I also wouldn't be shocked if we finish, outside top 7 or whatever, outside top 8. The clubs say no, that's not good enough for Ange, and he goes on the basis of that.
The worry is here now. We're halfway through the season, and we're on 24 points. We're on course to have like an awful season. If you look at points totals from previous years, like 2007, 2008 was at like 40 something, and 03-04 under Gross was 45 points. So I don't know if he can. I don't know if he can ride out a less than 50-point season. Something has to happen in January, and something has to happen in the turn of form, or he wins a cup. Yeah.
There was reporting from the Daily Mail that like a lot is riding on the cup semi-final against Liverpool, and that to me just makes no sense as a way of judging whether you've got the right coach in charge, basing it on a single game, basing it on a cup game. Again, like I said, the way to judge a coach is just, do you believe that this is the right person, has the right tools, has the right approach, has the right rapport with the dressing room, has the right characteristics in terms of developing players for the long term. Which is why for me, like, that was my position on Mourinho like day one, is I don't really think he is. And it only got worse from there. And with Conte, I was like, okay, this will be interesting for a while, but when things start to go bad, it's time to give up. It's been a terrible run, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. I totally appreciate how bad it's been and how bad it is within the context of where we've been completely under the ENIC tenure, right? It's, in terms of results, it's abysmal. I think we are 6th in expected points. We've certainly been unlucky. We've been bad and unlucky, which is a horrible combination, right? But I think it's a given. I think everyone would agree that the squad is not where it needs to be to compete across multiple competitions right now. And so fix that first, or at least make some more progress on that first, and then rejudge. And I think that the club's situation is likely to be a couple of transfers in January, make that work, or you're gone in the summer. I suspect that's the direction we're headed